Welcome back to Call Me By Your Game, the podcast where I, your host, Connor McCabe, bring on a guest to hear from them about a meaningful or memorable video game from a particular moment in their life. This is a podcast about what makes video games special to different people. And a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. If my guest or I plug anything today on the podcast, and listener, we sure will. You can find that in a nice link in the show notes wherever you're listening. So if you're watching the video version on YouTube or listening wherever you listen to podcasts on your phone, just scroll down in the episode description and I'll have it organized nice and neat so you won't have to wonder where you find that podcast or that social media handle. Speaking of some plugs for the network, you're probably familiar. We do our Games Club series over at Super NPC Radio, our Patreon exclusive show, where every week we do a chapter in whatever game we're covering currently. That is Mina the Hollower from Yacht Club Games. I wanted to tell everyone that on the free feed, where those series eventually arrive for everyone to listen to, our Death Stranding 2 Games Club just started airing there. So if you played that game or you just started playing it and you want to listen to a companion show, check out our free feed at Super NPC Games Clubs. It's in the link. It's in the link in the show notes too. But that'll do it. For the housekeeping, let's introduce our guest for today's episode. Please welcome writer and podcast host Bridger Winegar. Bridger, welcome.
Oh, Connor, I'm so excited to be here, and I'm going to try to not be too cranky about video games. So that's something that I could, if I start to get too grumpy about video games, please bring me back from the brink because I will complain nonstop.
Is the crankiness just coming from, well, I'm upset at the state of the industry, or just like you have a high standard for games? Where's it coming from?
I think both. The state of the industry, the fact that there still isn't a new Wave Race game,
Uh,
just a variety. I have very high standards, and my taste in video games is weirdly picky and
yeah.
can be frustrating sometimes.
Well, if I sort of feel you on the brink of crank, I will do my best to pull you back. How about that?
Thank you. I appreciate
I'll sort
that.
of dangle a different shiny object away to distract you from the rising temperature. But I'm not too worried about it. But Bridger, it's so great to have you on the show. This has been in the works for a little bit. I know you how, not actually, I know you in a different way that I know the majority of my guests. Most guests that I have on the podcast, I know directly through meeting people, through doing improv in the LA comedy scene.
Hmm.
Uh, However, I met you technically through another comedian, because you're a comedian yourself, through word of mouth. Through a dear friend of the show who's been on this podcast and yours, Patrick McDonald,
Oh,
um,
sweet Patrick.
connected us. And now, I work on a Patreon version of your show, doing a little
You do an
video and audio
incredible job.
editing. Thank you very much. I've told you before, it's a super fun show to work on. I don't want to sugarcoat it too much, but when I get an email that's like, here's some more files for a new episode, I look forward to that eventual day of work because it's one of my favorite shows to put
Oh,
together.
oh, that
So
makes me so happy.
it's really fun. And I've told you this as well, but especially the episodes where you have just such incredible chemistry with your guests are, of course, the most fun. I think the one you had recently with Bess Kalb was that one. The chemistry was on a level I don't know if I had seen on your show before. So it's an absolute blast.
Oh, that really makes me happy. And you do such a great job. It's nice to have someone in my life who knows what they're doing and can just deliver
Well,
because it's a rare thing.
I'm really glad you feel that way because I love doing it. You've been very generous and you've connected me with other people for more work too. So you've given me all that I could ever ask for. But uh, we know each other through work. We've become a little more familiar through our working relationship and also just having mutual friends around town. But I did want to give you a chance to share anything you'd like to with the listener about yourself, to plug anything you'd like, and just give us the down low on Bridger.
I, yeah, that's a great question. I have no idea. I have this podcast. I said no gifts, and we've been doing it for a really long time at this point, and I think some people enjoy it. So if you want to try a podcast that you might enjoy, it's worth a shot. And then I'm just kind of on Instagram wasting my life away.
Amazing. Well, great. I'm gonna put a link to I Said No Gifts in the and your Instagram in the show notes so people can find you. Then they'll be able to learn whatever they want about you.
Do some real
Your
prying.
yes, I think you share every detail about your life on the show, correct?
Every single detail. People are begging me to stop.
Okay, great. We'll see how that goes. Good luck. But I'll put a link in. People should definitely listen. It's an absolute really fun time, as I've already said over and over. We are going to be talking about video games today.
I'm
Uh,
so happy.
and before we get into just your general history in the first half of the show, I'd love if you would introduce what you brought on for the main event later, and please call me by your game.
The game I brought today is Jet Set Radio, known in the United States for, I can't remember which reason, Jet Grind Radio. But Jet Set Radio, I think, is kind of the real name of this video game.
Yeah, it's its Christian name, if you will.
Yes, exactly.
Uh, I'm thrilled to hear you talk about this game a little later. We do repeat games on the show, but this one has never been discussed, and it's also one that is a unfortunate blind spot of mine, despite having like a great awareness of it, and anyone who I know who's played it speaks very highly. So I'm excited to hear from you later.
Wonderful.
But let's dive into how we even got to this place in the first place. I'd love to know when it comes to video games, what are some of your earliest memories? Does something come to mind of watching someone else play, trying out something yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have a couple very early memories. I remember for a birthday, you used to be able to rent consoles,
Hmm.
like if your parents didn't want to buy them or whatever. I remember for some birthday, my mom rented a Super Nintendo,
Wow.
and it's weird because it was for a birthday, and I think the only game we had for it was Super Mario World, which is a one-player game. So I don't know how that played into a party of several people. But I remember,
Yes.
I mean, it was just one of these things that I was thinking about it earlier. And it's just like my sweet mom. She really, it's just such a lovely thing. And the fact that, I don't know. But
How would
that
she
there's,
ever know that maybe F-Zero would have been a better choice to at least for two people to play? How would
yes,
she have known?
we've got Mario Kart. We've got
Yes.
several games that two people could have been playing.
Yes.
But there's that. I remember learning that Samus is a woman very early on.
Yes.
I have older brothers and their friends I must remember them revealing that and that being I think that really was such a like a an eye-opening thing for a little boy to hear like, oh, this thing that everybody thinks is really cool isn't a guy. Wow, it's a
Yes.
woman. This is amazing. And it's just like really bent my world in a way of, just like uh, the assumption. I mean, every other video game, essentially, you're playing as a male. So it was just one of those early things that felt eye-opening. You're
Examining
like,
our own bias
whoa.
at a young age.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, oh my God. There's those two. Um, yeah, I think those are probably my two earliest memories
Yeah.
of playing video games.
And I'd love to know too, having you had a console rented for you for this birthday and this birthday party. Do you remember that far back? Was it something that you were sort of interested in and asking for, or was it something that they just kind of took a flyer on?
Oh my God, I was obsessed. I
Yeah.
was like, I subscribed to Nintendo Power. When we would go grocery shopping, I would just like camp out at the magazine section reading about every video game I possibly could.
Yes.
So it was a thing that I was like, anytime there was a new video game or something, I was deeply invested in playing it or trying
Awesome.
to play it.
Do you remember when you like finally got your own console or handheld?
Yeah, we eventually did get a Super Nintendo. It must have been for Christmas a couple years later. And I remember getting the Super Nintendo for Christmas, and I got Super Mario World and is it called Mickey's Magical Quest or something? It was a Capcom game.
Yes. Yeah.
I think those are the two games I got, and those were two early favorites. I don't know how
Wow.
that Mickey Mouse game holds up. Those old Capcom games, a lot of them actually do hold up pretty well.
Yeah, I think it's
Um,
like decently regarded to this day.
Yeah, I think there's like a Genesis Mickey Mouse game that people
Yes.
think is better.
Hmm.
But it was for a while a one console home, so that
Hmm.
the other Mickey Mouse wasn't available. But yeah, I got it for Christmas, and then like getting a new console was essentially something that would happen every few years at Christmas.
Yes. Oh, I can relate to the thrill of that uh so much as a kid. The rare time when it would happen, it was the biggest deal that I could that we think I could have happen.
Yeah, it's like I'm like there's nothing in adult life that really can match that level of just like joy and like possibilities of just like, oh my God, this is I'm opening a treasure box, It's
Yes.
really an interesting feeling that I don't think could really be replicated.
Yes. So you eventually get this Super Nintendo, more consoles in the future. Do you remember other sort of important games to you at the time, or the games that were sort of and ended up being sort of pillars?
Right. I mean, for Super Nintendo, I'm it, I guess it was so early and we didn't really get that many games for it. We would rent them on occasion, but it's like Super Mario World, which I've played a billion times, Mario Kart, then the Donkey Kong Country series. And then eventually I did get a Genesis. I think they had a deal on one at Costco one
All
year, and
right.
so then it was like all of the Sonic games. But I like obviously, as an adult, it's just like, oh, there's a video game, I'll buy it. But like as a kid, you have such a small library of games that you just end up playing over and over. And weirdly, I don't remember us. We owned a game called UN Squadron, which was
Okay.
like a shooter, like a plane shooting game.
Yeah.
I don't even know what you describe those as.
It's like a rail shooter
Yeah,
almost.
but it was most rail shooters you're going up the screen. This was
Yes.
left to right,
Okay, yeah.
which is kind of interesting. Um, and I don't. Oh, Killer Instinct.
All right.
And yeah, like the real like memories of more games started later when I got an N64, and it was more like that was the Super Nintendo was kind of the family console, and then the N64. I think both of my brothers were a little bit older and less interested in games, and it was like this is my thing. This is like that's I feel like where I really came of age as far as playing video games.
Yes. Okay, great. So before it was the N64 time, and it ended up being, you felt some ownership over that.
Mhm.
Was the Super Nintendo or games in general something that you shared with siblings?
Yeah, I remember my sister, we would just hand her the other control and tell her she was playing. But I remember like something that just blew my mind. We rented the Aladdin game for the Super Nintendo, and you used to like it would just give you the option to put in a code or something. Or maybe it was to avoid because they didn't have save states. I can't remember. But I remember my sister guessed the password to get to the last level of Aladdin. And I just remember thinking, "What is incredible. What a thing. It's like cracking a safe on your first try." But there's a lot of that playing, and again later on playing games with my sister, fighting with my siblings over playing
Of
games.
course.
And I should also say, I guess at the time when we got our first PC was probably in the mid 90s, and we had the King's Quest games,
Okay.
and I played a lot of the old LucasArts adventure
Oh,
games.
wow. Those are
Like,
special.
oh my God! I mean, I really think like Day of the Tentacle was really like along with some of the TV I was allowed to watch, like the first like peek into like comedy writing or like
Yeah.
creating jokes. So Day of the Tentacle, and then I always mix up the names of the Monkey Island games, but the first big one for me, I think it was The Curse of Monkey Island, that one that's
Hmm.
really beautiful hand drawn animation.
Yes.
But yeah, there was a decent amount of PC game playing as well, and just like that was around the time the internet was first
Hmm.
coming about. So I would just be like on N64.com, just obsessively reading about Mario 64. I remember like I would read about it just for hours each day. And I remember somebody called our house and I picked up the phone and answered. I said Mario. And I remember just thinking, oh my God, now people know I'm a dork. It was mortifying.
It was
But
just
I
on
was
the
just
brain so
obsessed.
much that that's the
Yeah.
only word you could come up with.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Totally obsessed with reading about video games.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of that's how I spent a lot of time either reading actual books. Thank God my mom had me reading actual books, but then also reading video game magazines or playing video games.
Yeah, I was also was a Nintendo Power subscriber for part of my childhood, but I never branched out to other magazines, even though I know there were good ones. Did you, or did you kind of stay to Nintendo Power?
I think I may have gotten a subscription eventually to Electronic Gaming Monthly.
Hmm.
But I would read that one at the grocery store. I would read Game Pro. I would read Next Generation. What was it
Hmm.
called? Next Gen. And then they started getting like into specific and like obviously today's game was a Dreamcast game. There was like the official Dreamcast magazine, who I just
Okay.
recently met one of the writer, someone who wrote for that magazine, and it was just
Wow.
such a. It's like, oh my God, I read that magazine. I think that's the big ones as far as video game
Yes.
magazines. There's PC magazine, but like literally, we'd go grocery shopping once a week, and while my mom bought things, I would just sit there and just read through these magazines about video games.
Yes. Amazing. You were previewing, your I guess your love, maybe I'll call it, for the N64. It's also a very special console to me. I would say I will never claim it's the best console, but it's my personal favorite, just the one I have that also was the first console that was my own and
Sure.
where the hobby blossomed for me. So for you, I know you've already talked a little bit about Mario 64, but what were some other important experiences on that console?
One game that I'm truly like, if I'm neurodivergent in any way, it's the fact that I think about Banjo-Kazooie all of the time. I'm like, there's something wrong with my brain that, like, as an adult man, at least once a week, I think about Banjo-Kazooie and how, and I think, I mean, I honestly do think the game is so good. It holds up really, really well. But it's just like, is there going to be a point in my life when I don't think about Banjo-Kazooie at least once a week? And why is it even coming into my brain?
Why
It's
do
just,
I
I
keep
think it's,
thinking about the Four Seasons in TikTok Woods? Why does that keep coming to my
yes,
brain?
totally.
Or Click
That
Clock
game
Woods,
is
whatever.
so good. But yeah, that was an early or like a big one on the N64. I remember like I was in Boy Scouts and I despised it, but my parents wanted us all to become Eagle Scouts, and so I I think maybe when I became an Eagle Scout, my mom, and this was like getting a game outside of Christmas was like, I mean, I think this may have been the one time that it happened. She bought me Banjo-Kazooie and it just took over
Wow.
my summer. Um, but there's that. Obviously, Ocarina of Time was
Hmm.
just absolutely huge. Beetle Adventure Racing, do you remember this?
Yes, I didn't play it, but I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
It's such a good game. It's this is where I start to get a little cranky about like genres that have just fallen off the map for whatever reason, but like arcade racers that are really well made and have a budget. That game was and it was actually kind of a break from the racing genre because it was also literally kind of an adventure game where you have to collect stuff, but
Yeah.
it holds up really well. We should talk about emulation off podcast. I feel like you might have some answers for me. Um, but that game, Snowboard Kids, which my sister and I would play
Wow.
obsessively, that was one that we would rent over and over. Mario Kart 64. Uh, I've never really figured out how to pronounce this, but Goemon.
I think you
Do you
got it.
know?
Yeah. Legend of the
Uh,
Mystical Ninja.
yes, I think there are two on N64. The first one is 3D and like it's like a very like watered down Zelda game, but
Yes.
I remember it being really funny and interesting. What other games? Big, I mean, essentially any Nintendo published game outside of like like Kobe Bryant. Actually, I liked that game too, actually, that basketball game.
I didn't know they
1080
published that.
snowboarding. Yeah, they did. That
Wow.
game was made, and this could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that game and Excite Bike 64 were developed by what later became, and this is almost certainly wrong now that I'm saying it, but Rockstar San Diego.
Okay.
I
Interesting.
think I think that that might be true.
It could
uh,
be.
but I love Wave Race 64 so much. I never owned it like during the initial run of the
Yeah.
N64. Well, maybe I did. I don't know. Like it was much later when I was in like ninth grade, I like it felt like it almost felt retro at that point to be playing that game. But
Hmm.
I would just sit there with um, Weezer's Blue Album, just playing over and over while I played Wave Race 64, just
Wow.
for hours at a time. And I just like I can't say enough about Wave Race. I think it's such a great game, and it's another one of these things where it's just like now every video game has to be a massive blockbuster, and like
Yes.
there's really no money to make a game that's just like a little bit more niche. Like obviously there's so many great indie games, but there's this weird middle ground where those games have kind of vanished, where it's like
Yeah.
there's a good budget for a smaller idea.
Yes. Yeah. There's
Um,
are you familiar with Jason Schreier at all?
yes, yes.
He, I really like his podcast that he does with a couple co-hosts, but he's just started posting on YouTube recently, just making kind of not, I guess they're kind of video essays, but his thoughts on different subjects that are, uh, I guess, relevant in the gaming industry.
Hmm.
And he had a whole uh, video he posted that was about why studios don't make smaller games like that anymore, like why AAA studios don't.
Oh,
And
interesting.
it's a lot of the things you could guess or have already sort of hinted at today. It's just like every game has to, by most AAA studios, has to make so much money, so
Hmm.
it's not worth it for them to even make a smaller team to make a minor success. So
Oh, it's so
yeah,
frustrating and sad. It's just, and I feel like that's kind of what's happening with movies. Everything is just kind of getting squeezed. So the interesting stuff, it's so much harder for it to even exist.
yes, yeah, you definitely have to look other places for that, like you were kind of saying.
Right. And again, like saying wave race is the interesting stuff is so crazy because it's just literally like it's so, it seems like it has so much mass appeal. It's just you're racing jet skis. It's not like it's this
Yes.
artsy thing. It's just literally a racing game. But it's like for the fact that that sort of game can't happen, I don't know, it just blows my mind.
Yes,
Uh,
it is frustrating.
and again, like 1080 snowboarding, that's
Hmm.
another genre like SSX3, especially. I'm totally obsessed with, and
Wow.
even that sort of game, it's hard to make anymore.
Yes. Yeah, that's my personal favorite SSX as well. I
It's
love
so good.
3. It kind of won me over a couple years ago where I played it growing up, but I gave it a real shot and realized that it happened to be my preference.
Oh my God, it's like it's kind of one of the early real like open world. Like it's one of the few novel takes on an open world in a video
Hmm.
game, and makes such good use of it, and it's so beautiful and relaxing to play. And Uh, now I think EA has been bought out by Saudi
Yeah.
Arabia or something. So it's just like, well, then it's never happening again. Um, and every other, then it's like, oh, I'm sure somebody will try to create it as a game as service or whatever,
Yes,
which will
something
just be
like
another
that.
devastating blow to my life.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's awful.
yeah,
Uh this is where I'll take you away from the brink of crank.
thank you.
As much as I couldn't agree more on all of these subjects. Because I want to ask you some more questions about your history.
Wonderful.
So
Thank
I've,
you.
I've got a really good idea of what gaming was like for you, in your childhood into, early adolescence. Maybe not exactly present day, but in that time between that golden era of the N64 for you and now, what has gaming been like? Have you been a casual gamer? Have you stuck with a certain like manufacturer? I'd love to know a few details.
No, as it's weird because I still really love and I'm obsessed with video games and like follow the latest things that are happening in video games and everything, probably more than I actually play games, which
Hmm.
is probably, I think it's kind of shameful and I'm like,
Yeah.
just play games. But as I've become an adult and obviously like, um, started making money and like just been someone who can, uh, even like when I had jobs in college, I was like, oh, I can, when you're a kid, you basically have to dedicate yourself to one brand because your parents are only buying you one thing.
Hmm.
But I think if you came into my home, you'd be, I mean, like I currently have hooked up my PS5, my Switch to a Wii U, and the Xbox branding is so confusing. One of these, not the newest one, maybe the one before that. I
Yes,
can't
yes.
remember. I have
But hey, we
no
got the Wii
idea.
U hooked up, so that's the most important thing.
Yeah, the Wii U with like its 9 games.
Yeah.
But I'm replaying Twilight Princess. So
Oh
Uh,
wow.
I still consider I've pre Gamergate, pre any of this, I've always hated the word gamer. I've just found it very
Yes.
irritating. So I've never described myself as that, but I do love video games, and I
Yes.
uh, still buy a lot of games and try to finish them. And I mean, there's nothing more satisfying than finding a game that you like enough to finish because it
Yes.
feels more and more rare to me.
I've heard you talk about as I've been editing your podcast, I've heard you talk about your relationship to going to see movies and how sometimes I think you've said you might even have a specific rubric here. So please correct me if I don't have it exactly. That after a certain amount of time in a movie, if it doesn't have you, if it hasn't gripped you, you have no problem leaving, being an A-list holder. But do you have a similar relationship to games, or do you give them more of a go? Tell me about that.
Well, just to clarify my rule for movies, I do have a hard rule, which is if a movie's over 3 hours, literally 180 minutes or more, I will only stay for the first 90 minutes. And then I will leave, and
Yes.
if I liked it enough, I'll go back and see it. And then I also loosely play with because AMC makes it so easy to like if you don't like a movie, you could just walk out. But with video games, I've actually thought about this recently, like thinking about trying to discipline's not a good word, but like being more disciplined about trying to play games and like trying to invest a little bit more because I don't have a ton of patience. And if
Hmm.
I think weirdly growing up playing Nintendo games in particular, which are very good at like teaching you the rules and like pulling you into the game slowly to the point where you know exactly how to play it. Nintendo's just there's a reason they are so successful. Their games
Hmm.
are just so playable, and most of them struggle with that. Like the intro of a lot of games will either be not great or confusing or too difficult or whatever, and I'm a lot of the time I'll give up quickly, or if there's too much story or cutscenes, because I and God bless, I think most video games are the writing is abhorrent and
Yeah.
embarrassing, and again, I love video games, and I know everyone Bundy puts in a lot of hard work. But if I'm forced to sit through a cutscene that is just like D plus as far as a movie goes, I'm like, why? I would rather just watch a movie.
Yes.
Um, but I'm trying to like, especially with RPGs, because I've never really gotten into RPGs,
Oh,
and like, I
interesting.
wonder if that would be a satisfying experience to like force myself through Final Fantasy VII or one of
Yeah.
these big ones. Because kind of the only RPGs I've ever completed are like Pokemon games, or
Yes.
there was this game called Ni no Kuni on the
Yeah.
PS3 and I part of that was just loving Studio Ghibli and
Yeah.
whatever. But I think I I don't know. I would like to complete one big RPG at some point.
I wonder, would something like, is it the cutscene aspect that's tough, or is it just too much, I guess, story in general? Like, could a more retro style text-based RPG like do it for you where you're not watching acting, but you're reading dialogue, or is it the same
That's a
sort of
good
feeling?
question. I don't know. I just like I unfortunately just find so much of the story and writing not good that I'm just
Yes.
like, this is a wa I'm wasting time. I don't
Hmm.
care. I never feel invested in the characters or the story. I'm just like, this feels like bad storytelling. And it's just like pushing buttons to read a bad book
I
or
could be
something,
collecting jiggies right now. What am I doing?
yes. There is something about like the reason I'm playing a game is to control the game,
Yeah.
rather than to be fed the game. And but obviously, I'm kind of in the minority there because some of the biggest games ever have tons of cutscenes and story that people really love, and I'm just like, I don't know how to break down my allergy to that sort of thing.
Yes. Well, it can be as I have a certain appetite for that sort of thing. So I absolutely understand when I know plenty of people who are also similarly feel like that's not as much for me as it is other people. Uh I've got a couple more questions I want to ask you during this segment.
Okay.
The first of which is what is a game in your backlog? And you maybe just said it. You'll have to tell me. What's a game in your backlog that you would love to get around to giving a good shake?
Ah, that's a good question. I'm trying to think of what things are just like crowding my PS5 right now. I mean, I don't have a great answer to this. Something that I've been like, I really have not enjoyed over the last few years is the whole Demon Souls, Dark
Oh yeah.
Souls, nightmare difficulty level things.
Hmm.
What's Elden Ring? Uh,
From
this is a situation,
software.
yeah, from software. Then
Yeah.
obviously that the success of those games has bled into so many other games that are just like this attitude of like, no, there's no difficulty option. You just have to get good at it. And I'm just
Yes.
like, I simply can't learn a skill.
Yeah.
I have half an hour each day to play a video game, and I just need to be able to feel some level of success. It's
Yes.
like
Yes.
sometimes when you're in life, you're like, it's just like everything else is so difficult. Can I just look at my TV and feel like I've succeeded in something rather than just gotten blown away by a monster over and over? And I'm sure it's satisfying once you get good at it, but I would, this is, I've talked to somebody about this before where I'm like, I wish my boyfriend was straight because I feel like if I had a straight boyfriend, he'd be able to talk me through one of these games. Like it would be the training wheels that would get me playing Elden Ring or something. Because I
Yes.
get in and I'm like looking at these menus, and I'm just like, oh, no, I can't do this. And I love the world seems so cool.
Hmm.
But and so I guess along those lines, a game that's also extremely difficult is Silk Song,
Yes.
which I need to finish, but I've gotten to a point where I'm just like, unfortunately, I don't have the dexterity or skills to finish this, and
Yes.
it's very frustrating.
Look, I adore that game. You can see a figure of Hornet right here behind
Oh,
me,
amazing.
uh, that a friend got me. But I think if we weren't playing that for a Games Club series last year, where I was beholden to getting through it, I I may have bowed out. But I
Right.
sort of had this responsibility and this, I guess, accountability of this group to show up to. So, but that game, it's amazing, but it is quite brutal at many
It's
points.
tough. Same with Hollow Knight. I
Hmm.
loved that up until a point that I was just like, well, I guess that I just was not blessed with whatever it takes to finish this video game. Thank God it was only $20.
Yes. The other question that I had for you is, what is a game that's on the horizon that you're excited to play?
Oh, okay. Let's see. What games are coming up that are I'm really excited about the new I never know how to pronounce his name. Fumito Ueda, his new
Yes.
game.
It's called, is it
What
like,
is it? Gen Atlas, I think is what it's called.
yeah, I already forgot what it was called. Yes.
The giant robot thing. His three prior games are three of my all-time favorites. And I think that that's an example of how a video game can tell a story without like getting in your way of playing the
Hmm.
game. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm hoping that there's a new 3D Mario coming down the pipeline. That's got to be around the corner. And I'm very curious, though, I'm keeping my expectations low for the remake of Ocarina of Time because I'm just like, that could go in any direction.
Yes. I think we maybe even messaged about this a little bit, but I am equally curious and cautiously excited and optimistic, but I obviously until we learn more, I don't know if this is a one-to-one remake or something more imaginative or something in
Right.
between, so we'll
It kind
see.
of feels like it's like an impossible to win situation
Yeah.
because it's like if you change it too much, people are like, well, that's not the game. But if you don't change it, it's a little dated. I don't know. That seems like
Yes.
quite a feat to take on.
Yes. Lastly, before we head to break and move on with the show, is there any game from your history that you haven't brought up today that you would just be so disappointed in yourself if you didn't utter the name of?
Okay. Oh, great question. I should have thought about this in advance because there are so many games like this where I'm like, anytime I'm talking about video games with people, I'm like, well, maybe if I bring it up, then that'll spawn some interest in the game, and
Yes.
then they'll make another. Um, Let me think. I mean, I've already said SSX. I've said Wave Race. I've
Yeah.
said, um, well, I mean, I've already brought up Banjo-Kazooie.
Hmm.
I mean, obviously, Mother 3 is a game that I would love to. I I don't know, did whatever with my Wii U so I could play Mother 3 on it, but it's just such a pain to get into all the menus that eventually I kind of gave up on playing Mother 3. But I
Yes.
was really, because fans translated it, um, I was really having a good time with that, and I wish Nintendo would just make it easy for people to play it.
I completely agree. The only reason I played it finally was I just bought a fan translated version of the cart on Etsy, and I got an analog pocket when it came out. It was the first one
Wow.
of the first games I played through, and it was a like annoying to say, but kind of a spiritual experience. I fell in love with that game.
It's so good, and that is an RPG, and but it's like that. I don't know the tone, everything about it's really fantastic. That was a game I was obsessed with playing when it was 3D for the N64. I was so
Oh,
excited to play it, and then that obviously never happened. So,
ah,
but the 2D version is really
yeah.
cool. I just wish it wasn't such a pain to play.
Yeah, I kind of have just resigned myself to not get my hopes up that Nintendo will ever release it. I mean, I have a way to play it, but I'd love for more people
Right.
to have easy access. We'll see if it ever happens. Well, Bridger, this has been so much fun to dive into your general history with games. I'm sure we could have spent hours
Oh
just
my God, you
diving
have to
into
keep me
every,
contained.
yes. But thank you so much for just walking me through that already. We're gonna go ahead and take a quick break, and when we get back, we're finally getting get into all things Jet Set Radio. So I'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to Call Me by Your Game. Connor McCabe returning to the microphone with my guest Bridger Winegar. Bridger, welcome back.
Oh, I'm happy to be back.
And finally, your patience has paid off. We strayed from the brink of crank, and we're finally going to get into all things Jet Set Radio here on the main event. Like I told you before we started recording, I'm just going to kind of monologue some Wikipedia information about this game, some general history and context, and for the listener. And if you want to jump in or correct me on anything, you've got the green light.
All right. I got on Wikipedia earlier and put in a
Ooh.
lot of fake information about the game. So this is going to be
Oh.
total misinformation,
I'm
listener.
gonna try to dodge the fake news you put in here. Great. Well, I'll just get us started now. Jet Set Radio, originally released in North America as Jet Grind Radio, as Bridger told us earlier, is a 2000 action platform video game developed by Smilebit and published by Sega for the Dreamcast. The player controls a member of the GGs, a youth gang that uses inline skates to traverse Tokyo while spraying graffiti, challenging rival gangs, and evading authorities. Development was headed by director Masayoshi Kikuchi with art by Ryota Ueda. The team drew influence from late 1990s Japanese pop culture, such as the rhythm game Parappa the Rapper, the anti-establishment themes of the 1999 film Fight Club. News to me. Didn't read
That's
the
a
claim.
real surprise to me. It doesn't really carry through.
No, I guess maybe there's like a kernel there, if anything. It's also how you can tell I'm reading that sentence for the first time. Should have read that before. And also elements of 1980s American hip hop culture, and of course graffiti. The environments were based on Tokyo shopping districts in Shibuya and Shinjuku, with graffiti designed by artists including Eric Hayes, who also designed the game's logo. Jet Set Radio was the first game to use a cel-shaded art style, which was developed in response to the team's disappointment with the abundance of sci-fi and fantasy Sega games. So I guess they rebelled to use some cel-shaded art style.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Um, which I'd love to maybe I should have fact checked that before too, because it seems like a crazy thing that would be the first game that ever used it. But
I think it is.
yeah.
I
Oh,
mean, at
interesting.
least as far as like popularizing cell shading, I think Jet Set gets
Yes.
credit for it. Um,
Wow,
I don't,
just a couple
I
years
can't,
before like Wind Waker and Beautiful
right.
Joe and stuff like
It
that.
really like became a huge thing.
Yeah.
And it still works so well. Like it's one of the few like 3D
Yeah.
types of graphics that can age pretty well.
Absolutely. Yeah, as opposed to going for like photorealism or what have you.
Right.
I just replayed Spider-Man 2, the movie tie-in from 2004, and that game goes for like a realistic look, and most of it doesn't look good.
I can't imagine.
Yes.
That
Um,
would be a great game to be cell shaded.
Truly. Just a little bit more info about the game here, more about sort of the reception and release. Jet Set Radio received universal acclaim for graphics, soundtrack, and its gameplay, and it won several awards upon release as well. It was in 2003. It was followed by a Game Boy Advance version developed by Vicarious Visions. And in 2012, it was re-released for the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, iOS, Windows, the Vita. That's incredible. I got to get that on my
Wow.
Vita. And Android. And the game also launched a series of sequels, starting with Jet Set Radio Future for the Xbox in 2002, and another being announced by Sega in 2023. I would be
Yeah.
curious if that's still happening. I guess that wasn't
It,
that long ago in game development.
as far as I know, it's still happening because, as I said, I follow things obsessively. But
Yes.
I think they try development began as a game as a service where it would have
Oh,
been
okay.
free online nonsense, and I think because so many of that type of game are now flopping and just bankrupting companies,
Hmm.
I think that they may have redirected it towards something. Oh, I'm just like, please, just let it be a normal video game.
Yes. Yeah, don't doom it
Um,
from the start.
yeah. Not
Um,
everything has to be a gambling operation.
no, it doesn't. That's all the information that I was regurgitating. Did you have any other just like basic table setting that you wanted to say about the game before we dive into your personal history?
I let's see. I'm trying to think. I just remember at the time it just being this new. It's weird because video games inherently are kind of cartoony, but for one to like actually commit to looking like a cartoon at the time was just like, oh my God, this is
Mm,
so different looking and stylish. And uh, also, I was thinking it was like at the time the Dreamcast was $99, which like is so unheard of at this point. Like the idea of
yes.
paying less than $100 for a video game console is, but it was also while the Dreamcast was kind of cratering. So that whole the end of Sega was a little bit sad because they did do all these kind of fascinating big weird ideas like Crazy Taxi, and it was during this period there's this game, well, that was a Capcom game, Power Stone, but the Dreamcast was this really great console and had all these kind of very weird different types of games that were,
Seaman,
oh
Shenmue.
my God, Seaman was so bizarre. Yeah, they took some big swings, and it in the end they still kind of just fell apart.
Was too bad. Related to Sega, but unrelated to this game's history. About the fall of Sega, there was I believe it was the video game podcast Retronauts, or was it the Video Game History Foundation? I'll have to look this up. One of them did a really insightful episode on sort of unspoken reason of why, or I guess unreported reason of why Sega started to go into a nosedive in the mid and late 2000s. Are you familiar with this at all?
No, no.
It ended up, all I'll say is it had a lot. I should find it and send it to you because it was fascinating. It had way less to do with the failure of the Dreamcast than I was expecting, and more to do with some shady stuff around how they were financing the success of the Dreamcast, or sorry, the Genesis back in the day. So
Oh,
even before the
wow.
Saturn also was I guess you could call a failure. They were already sort of setting themselves up to fail based on how they were financing stuff. So, uh,
Wow.
yeah, way more nuanced than I would have expected. But I'll try to find that and send it to you.
Seems like there's a lot of crime happening at Sega because what's his name? Is it Yuji Naka
Yes,
who is like a full criminal and apparently
yes,
like just like is a fraud in every way you
hmm
could, like I recently learned that he didn't really even create Sonic, which he was given credit for.
yeah,
And then he's like arrested for all these financial, it's
hmm
crazy.
It is crazy.
But
Um,
Sega had that edge. They
they
had that edge.
they sure did. Uh, let's get into your personal history with Jet Set Radio. I would love to start with finding out how you discovered or heard about this game in the first place.
It must have been, yeah, I guess this was a period. I mean, I'm sure my family still had like a 28K modem or whatever, but being online in all the forums and stuff, just learning about it. I don't remember when it was announced, but did I even own a Dreamcast at the time? I had two different Dreamcasts because my brother worked at the time was known as Software Etc., which became GameStop. But he got a good discount. I think he was in high school or something. And so when the Dreamcast first came out, he bought it, and we had like Soul Calibur, Sonic, like every game
Oh.
that came out, Hydro Thunder, another great game. But then I think he sold it, and I didn't have a Dreamcast for a while. And then I became obsessed with Crazy Taxi at the arcade and bought my own Dreamcast. I was thinking about this recently too. Like I had a Dreamcast and I bought a steering wheel, like the setup,
Hmm.
and set it up in my parents' basement, which was, like the basement was for the entire family. I can't imagine what my parents were thinking. Like, why does Bridger have a card table and like a steering wheel and a gas pedal to play a game where he's like taking people on taxi rides? Uh, but yeah, so I got a Dreamcast, and that's when I was starting to kind of become obsessed with like Tony Hawk and 1080
Wow.
and that sort of thing. And then came along Jet Set, and it was this thing that felt so stylish. It was like, in a lot of ways, just felt different for a video game because it was so about style. And I had never really played a game that was like style first, and art was such a huge part of it. And it almost felt like it was for adults in a way of like, it's fun to play, but it's also this thing that goes beyond being a video game. It's stylish, and
Yes.
the music is cool. And like there's just like you can almost like feel the this might sound crazy, but like its representation of those Japanese neighborhoods probably feels more accurate to those neighborhoods than any other video game has done, just because the way it captures the spirit of it rather than trying to be a photorealistic
Oh,
version of
sure.
it.
Yes. Yeah. Rather
Um,
than in maybe the Yakuza series being a kind of a one-to-one, this is more of like
right.
a like I think you literally said these words, a representation of what it would like it be like in Shinjuku or Shibuya.
Right. It's like it
Okay.
really captures that energy in a way that you really don't see games do that often, especially uh, with modern settings. I don't know, but it's just like that vibe, the whole thing of it just really clicked with me, and I was obsessed with playing it. And then I finally got it and just adored it. And
Kind of from the jump.
yeah, it's just everything about it. It's just so cool. Like I I've played it more recently when they re-released it, and the controls are a little clunky. They're a little like, if you're used to playing modern games, it's slightly like you have to relearn how to play it.
Hmm.
But it's really just set up to make you feel cool while you're playing it. You feel like uh when you're spray painting walls and stuff, like the little game you have to play with that makes you feel like you're actually doing
Hmm.
the art. Everything about it really feels set up to make you feel like you're part of this cool world, and it just nails it.
Yes. Being someone who has only really observed this game from a computer screen, and I think I had a friend, in the last 6 or 7 years who had a Dreamcast who let me try it out once, but I didn't spend much time with it. Coming from where I am, you've already talked about how this game had so much style, and I feel like what most people will think of is the inline skating, is the grinding on rails, the graffiti of it, doing tricks. I was also a little surprised to learn about some of the interstitial storytelling and characters that are in this game, which I was blown away by. Did those stick remain in your mind as well?
Not really. I mean, I
Okay.
like the characters, like I can picture all of them, but like I the storytelling to me always felt fairly nonsensical. And it's just like, okay, it's like anti-authoritarian, and then there are gangs that dance. But it all seemed to make the story wasn't overbearing or anything. It just felt like in most games that I love, the story was just there to string together the game itself.
Yes. Great. When it comes to the gameplay, whether that be present day or what you remember first interacting with it, what was it about it that grabbed you so much? And how did that feel compared to you made you were referring to some other games that have some things in common with this, like Tony Hawk earlier. How did it feel isolate, like in its own vacuum, but also compared to similar games?
It's a good question because like I said, like now looking back on it and playing it more recently, like if you play an old Tony Hawk game now, it still is like the controls really work pretty well. And so at the time it didn't occur to me that Jet Set as like a skating game is not super fun to control, which is like half the reason you play a Tony Hawk game because it's just like learning to do combos and everything. So I think it, like the thing that really just drew me to it is I had never seen a video game that looked like that before. That
Okay.
was, I think so many video games are about some loser male fantasy of being like a tough guy or like being able to shoot up a bunch of shit, which just like has holds no appeal whatsoever for me.
Hmm.
So it still feels kind of like wish fulfillment of being part of a cool gang, of
Yeah.
being part of like a stylish world, and I don't know. I think that that just really clicked for me.
You talking about how, it's anti-authoritarian, on the nose a little bit, but also it's about a who is dancing. It just made me think of Footloose as well.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah.
there's a Footloose nature to this game I didn't really expect.
Totally, yeah. It's like the police trying to shut down fun,
Yeah.
essentially. I think that's also part of it. It's like the world is fun. It's like
Yeah.
joyful and despite being like and like take down the man or whatever, it doesn't feel heavy-handed in that way because you're a stylish cartoon.
Sure. Was this a game that when you played it, you ended up devouring every little aspect and corner of it, or did you get your satisfaction by just enjoying the parts of it you did play?
Oh, I played every inch of the game. Like I would explore the levels. They were really fun to and it like I think like so many American kids who grew up playing video games in the 90s was obsessed with Japan
Hmm.
because that's where most of the good games are coming from, and it felt like I would never actually get to go to Japan. So at the time it was like I'm in Japan. This is so cool. This is the what Tokyo must feel like. So I squeezed every minute out of it that I could. There is like weirdly in the American version, they added some US cities, I think maybe New
Oh,
York, and some really god awful music. I think they put like Rob Zombie in it or something. I'm sure the levels are fun. I don't remember what they were like, but I remember being like, this is so jarring to go from like
yeah.
this kind of very sample heavy, like hip hop, old school type stuff to Rob Zombie or like Power Man 5000 or some garbage like that.
Yeah, get some whiplash from that happening.
Yeah, totally.
You were just talking about how the world could be, especially someone who hadn't been to Japan at the time, uh, how it could be transportive. That's something that I love so much in a game, whether it be a real place or just a fictional world.
Hmm.
There are games with very deliberate goals in mind for you. Even thinking back to maybe the early versions of Tony Hawk where you have do have your goals to do in 2 minutes, but sometimes living in the world or poking around in corners and finding secrets or just a space you hadn't been in was so fun. It sounds like that there was at least some of that there for you. Is that the
Oh,
case at all?
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like there being some small level of challenge as far as like being able to get to certain areas that makes you feel
Mm,
like you're better at the game. I think like that obsession with like finding secrets in worlds started with the Mario and Zelda games for me, where those
yes.
old I mean, Nintendo does a very good job of like having secrets that you can kind of just stumble on, and it really feels like you discovered it.
Yes, absolutely. I have probably similar memories, especially from those N64 titles of wondering like what, if anything, is beyond here.
Right, totally.
Was Jet Set Radio a game that you mostly enjoyed by yourself, or did you share this with anyone or ever remember showing it to someone?
I don't remember showing it to anybody. I don't like my friends at the time were not super into video games like I was, and so it really, especially that game in particular, like my siblings didn't care to play it.
Yes.
I didn't know anyone at school who played it. It felt really like it was my thing, and like I was also embarrassed of liking video games so much, so I didn't really talk to people at school about
Sure.
them. So it was really like me and then random people posting on message boards that
Uh-huh.
and I didn't even post to message boards. I just read message boards. So I really had weirdly no one to talk to about Jet
Yes.
Set Radio.
Yeah. I would love to. start digging into more of the context of your life when you were playing this game. And I want to start by you sort of scene painting the room where your Dreamcast would have been set up. Was it the basement you were mentioning already?
No,
Okay.
once we had our second Dreamcast, I think for a large part of my ownership of it, it was actually in our laundry room. We had a TV in the laundry room,
This is a first
and
for the show. This is great.
yeah, it was so strange. We just had like the washing machine, my mom's sewing machine, and then like two hard chairs in front of a TV in the closet, essentially. And I think other than our TV in the basement, which the whole family used, that was like the TV in the house until
hmm
I bought a little like tiny Sony. What were those called? They had like a flat screen, but they weren't actually flat. I don't know.
Not a
Uh,
CRT
it
television,
it
but
was
like
like a
a,
CRT,
yeah.
but it was like it wasn't, TVs used to have like a curved front, and
Yes.
then eventually they developed it was like flat,
Yeah. But they still
but it was
went deep.
still deep.
It might have still
Yeah.
been just like a more modern CRT.
Yeah, it was like a
Yeah.
slightly kind of cute little Sony TV that I eventually bought for my bedroom where I took my Dreamcast. So I would say half of my Dreamcast time was sitting in a laundry room while the like washing machine was roaring behind me. And then eventually it moved up into my bedroom, and that's where I
Gotcha.
would play my Dreamcast games.
Awesome. Even just like the imagery you sort of painted of the laundry room is so great. Was your bedroom on like a second story where there did your siblings share walls with you? What do you remember about that?
Yeah, I shared my bedroom with my brother. I until my brothers moved out, I don't think I ever had my own room.
hmm
I shared a room with both of my brothers for a small period of our childhood, and then eventually my oldest brother moved to the basement, and my other brother and I shared the room until he went on a Mormon mission, and that was the first time in my life that I had like a room of my own, but it still had two beds in it, weirdly. And that's when I started to kind of take over the room and make it, put all sorts of clipped out magazine things all over the walls like a stereotypical teenager,
Yeah.
and filling the shelves with junk.
Yes. When it comes to, I mean, there's more game stuff I can ask you about, but what do you remember that outside of it could be video game related as well, that filled your time at this point in your life? Was it mostly games? Were there other activities or friends that you really remember?
During like Jet Set era,
Yeah, I know it's kind of specific, but
I would say video games and just hanging out with friends took up most of my time. At that point I wasn't quite in like I became kind of music obsessive a little bit later,
Mhm.
but so at that time it was like the one real hobby was either playing video games, reading, or hanging out with my friends.
Gotcha.
And hanging out with friends was often playing Tony Hawk or 1080, and or just screwing around.
Yes. Do you ever remember, and I know this is, again, it's very specific era, but a best day that you all had, or a day where you got into the most mischief or anything like that?
Oh, that's a great. At that period, I'm trying to think of like who I was hanging out with. Um, wow, what a great question. Um, oh, I don't really have. I have a few years later great memory of it was like around when Razor scooters were becoming popular,
All right.
and a few friends on no just two friends and I snuck into the mall on New Year's Eve and just rode around the scooters all night, and it was I would love to do that now. Just like being in a place after hours is
Yeah.
so delightful, and it was just like it felt like heaven, just like we're the only people in this massive building,
Yes.
and just screwing around felt so good.
Very much a scene from a coming of age movie right there.
Right,
Do,
totally.
do you, I mean, I don't need to, I'm not going to ask you every detail about this night. You've already given so much, but do you remember how you snuck in?
Yeah, my friend, did she work at the Gap or knew someone? She knew that there was one door in the building that was always open that
hmm
would like for custodians and
Yeah.
janitorial staff or whatever. And I think it's where like the mall employees probably entered as well. And so she just knew the store would be open all night.
Okay.
They
Gotcha.
must, well, all malls are just essentially dead at this point. But I assume at some point they probably started keeping that door kind of locked. It's crazy to
Hmm.
think that just at any point someone could enter the building.
Yeah. But you had an inside person who could get you there though.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that. Even filling in some of the context has been so much fun to hear about from you. Thinking about back to the game, Jet Set Radio, is there a moment or level or just an aspect of it that uh, was your favorite, like playing it?
Oh,
I know
that's a
you've mentioned the art style a ton too.
right. I mean, I still think about playing through that first level. There must have, do you know what? I think there may have been a demo of it at some point. That's the other
Hmm.
weird thing to remember, old demo discs.
Yeah.
And I think there may have been a demo with that first level, and I was so obsessed with the game like before it released that I would just go through that demo over and over, just learning like different ways to like connect rails and stuff, and just being like, this feels so cool to
Hmm.
play. It's just like, wow, I'm in Tokyo. And that it just feels like such an iconic first level of a game. Like the colors all is so cool, and uh, I don't know, it's really wonderful.
Yeah. And you've already told us that this is a game you've at least gone back to recently on that sort of re-release they did. Would you revisit it like throughout your life before that happened?
No, because it was a little bit harder to get a hold of if you
Hmm.
didn't have a Dreamcast for a long time. It was like it was either you could play it on a Dreamcast or you could potentially emulate it. But then it wasn't really re-released until they did the HD version.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it's so funny how like a special game from a period of your life or like a movie or album can just seemingly disappear for years and then
Yeah,
you can reconnect with it years later.
totally.
Well, before we maybe end this main discussion and go to some fun post-show segments, I wanted to ask you two questions. The first of which is there any detail about the game itself or the context from your life that you haven't brought up yet that you'd like to add on here?
Details about the game. And the soundtrack is really fun to listen to. I mean, I
Mhm.
can't imagine like driving around to the soundtrack because it's very repetitive, but I remember one song in particular called Super Brother that I really loved. Um, and it's again, like all the parts of this game just feel very non-traditional for a video game because it's like kind of original hip hop music,
Yeah.
electronic stuff that you wouldn't find, especially during that period in a video game.
Yes. So you wouldn't drive to it. Is it something that would be fun to throw on your computer where you're just doing like mindless work, or is it even too weird for that?
I think it might be. I think it might you might find it annoying. I haven't like gone back. I think it's pretty repetitive and it might drive somebody insane, but I could be
Sure.
wrong. Um, but yeah, I remember like the sample loops start over pretty quickly. So
Okay, yes.
it might drive somebody insane, but I could be wrong. I don't want to discourage anyone from checking it out.
Yeah, don't want to yuck a future yum, I guess.
Right, right.
Well, I guess finally then, what I'll ask you to do before we do move to the post show is I would like to have you, if you could, just put a bow on the place that this game holds for you in your life, no matter how broad or specific.
And wait, so what do you mean?
So, sort of like tie up in however many words you need, whatever place this holds for you, whether it's a fun thing from a moment or when you think of this game, how would you put that final sentence, I guess?
Oh, yeah, I would say that the game really was a turning point for me as far as what uh and I think this is so corny, but like how you could break the mold of format or mediums or like it really showed me that you can create something completely new out of something that everyone has kind of seemingly already decided is the
Yeah.
thing. Um, and I think it also proved that like I don't think the game was a huge financial success, but is obviously so influential. It went like it really created this wave that like you can still feel in so many games now, and has influenced everything from like Zelda to
Hmm.
indie games. So it's really it's one of those things when you're I don't know, like there are certain pieces of art that like obviously so much great art isn't a huge blockbuster success, but still can make some different sort of little change or something.
Yes.
And it was kind of the first real example of that to me.
Yeah. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you for recapping that and sharing all that you did about Jet Set Radio. We've got some fun stuff to do, but thanks for bringing that game on.
Well, thanks. I'm so happy to talk about it.
Well, the first of my final segments for you is the Fact Me by Your Game segment, where I'm just going to share one fun fact with you about this game that I learned when doing research for your episode.
Oh, I'm excited.
If you were scouring the Wikipedia, you may have also found this. But I have this fact titled "Why Skate When You Could Type," and this comes from a Typing Jet article on Jetpedia. Now, did you know, Bridger, that there was a Jet Set Radio spin-off game called Typing Jet?
No, I would love that. I loved Typing of the Dead, which was House of the Dead, but with a keyboard.
I could only assume that this was like somewhat similar, except it was only on Japanese mobile phones.
Wow.
So it was a Java typing game. Like I said, released for Japanese mobile phones in 2001, and players avoided obstacles and ran from the police by quickly typing characters. I guess little is known about this game at the moment, besides the sort of description of gameplay, because there's no video of it
What
online.
a shame.
Yes, there are screenshots though, so I'll link you an
Oh, excited to
article
see
in
this.
our chat, and I'll put a link in the show notes for the listener too if they want to check this out. There's
Yeah.
like four screenshots that they have of it today. Um, in terms of the soundtrack, there are chiptune remixes of "Let Mom Sleep" and "Rock It On," which was confirmed by Hideki Naganuma on Twitter. And as of right now, the game is considered lost media.
Wow, what a shame.
Yeah, just I was like, okay, well, I want to see what this looks like, and went to YouTube and just couldn't find a thing.
Wow.
And
That's I mean,
that
there's been this whole uproar over Sony dropping discs, and it's like this is part of the thing where like things that are digital only can just vanish forever.
yes. So I guess what was it called? Typing Jet. Rest in peace.
Oh, what a
Uh,
shame.
it's too bad Bridger never got to play
I
it.
love typing games. I need to get more. They're so satisfying.
Yes. Well, that'll do it for the Fact Me By Your Game segment, and I will lead us into the final one of the podcast, the game recommendations. Now, Bridger, this segment is my forced tie-in to the movie Call Me By Your Name, where I'm going to treat Jet Set Radio as your passionate summer fling that you had in Italy, but like the movie, that fling didn't work out. And so,
Mhm.
in order to help you get over this devastating heartbreak, I have three potential new flings to introduce you to. Uh,
Incredible.
they all have a little something in common with Jet Set Radio, so I know that there's some familiarity there. But before I introduce you, I need to know: are you ready to get back out there?
I think I am. I think my heart is open.
Okay, not the most surefire response, but I will take it because we got a yes. We got a yes. That's all that matters. I've got three for you today. The first of which is if you would like to, you're curious about what did this team get up to before they made Jet Set Radio. I'll recommend a game I bet you know since you were a Sega kid at some point. That's Panzer Dragoon.
Is that the on rails shooter?
It's the on-rail shooter where you're on like the dragon looking snake
Yeah, I
thing.
never
Yeah.
played that, but I was always so curious about it. Is that available on anything?
They have modern versions of it, and I think maybe remasters of the original, a couple of the original games that are available. It's also kind of like Jet Set Radio for me, one that I've always been meaning to play.
Hmm.
But people seem to love it as well.
Yeah, it's kind of Star Fox-esque, I think.
Yes, very Star
And
Fox-esque.
I love that game.
Yeah. So Panzer Dragoon's out there.
Okay.
Um, the second recommendation I have for you is if you are more curious as to what a spiritual successor to this game could look like in the modern age. I wrote down three because I was like, if Bridger brings up one of these, I want to have another one in the bank, but none of them happened. So I'll just recommend a game that came out recently that people tend to love, and that's Dench Attack.
Oh, the train game.
Yes.
I've been looking forward to playing that. I haven't played it yet, but it seemed. I mean, like the general spirit of it seems very, and like art style seems fairly similar to Jet Set, except for you're like controlling a train that does essentially skateboarding tricks.
Yes, and I think for the most part in the gameplay, you're not sort of going around an open world. It's more so you're on like a track, you're going down a
Right.
course basically.
Uh-huh.
It's another one that I think it's only $20, and I want to take the dive at some point soon.
I think I'm going to. I think that's a game. That's the perfect sort of game that you can just like put on music or a podcast and then just play it
Yes,
over and over.
yes. So, Dench Attack is your second recommendation, and for your final one, if you've had an enormous change of heart and you're done with the tagging, you're done with the graffiti, you are reformed, and you actually want to clean up this town instead, then I'll recommend Power Wash Simulator.
I just got this.
Oh, did you really?
Yes, just like last week. I think it was 11 o'clock at night. I was like, it's time to try Power Wash Simulator,
Yes.
and it's satisfying. It's very satisfying.
Oh, what are you playing it on?
My PS5.
Okay, great. Yes, I can't tell you how many videos I've seen of this thing that just looks so satisfying to clean gunk or paint off of a wall. So, if you've turned a new leaf, I guess it's not a bad game for you to try.
Yeah, I'm having a great time doing it. I would rather, be fighting the police,
Of
but
course.
occasionally you just want to wash off a van.
You know what? And that's not so bad, is it? So to recap, this segment, your three recommendations were Panzer Dragoon, Dench Attack, and Power Wash Simulator. That'll do it for the game recommendations, and that'll bring us to the end of the show. So before we go and plug whatever we want, including stuff we already plugged earlier, Bridger, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show. This was so much fun to
Oh,
hear
I
from
had
you.
a ball.
Oh, I'm so glad. It was your history. It was so much fun to dive into, to scratch the surface and then to hear about your time at Jet Set Radio. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I know we plugged a couple things up top for you. Do you want to replug those at the end here?
Yeah, it's my podcast. I said no gifts. It's on. There are hundreds of free episodes, and we also have a Patreon that Connor expertly edits, and you can enjoy either or both.
They're both fantastic. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. And then you can find that listener there, including all of these plugs of my own, starting with the cover artist for Call Me By Your Game. That's Glenn J. His Instagram handle is in a link in the show notes as well. This show is produced, edited, and the original music that you hear throughout is done by Jeremy Schmidt. You can follow me on Blue Sky and Twitch if you'd like. You can follow Call Me By Your Game on Blue Sky, Instagram, and YouTube. If you want a video version of two just fantastically handsome men, you can see that this whole episode. We didn't have a lot of cool visuals for you. I pointed at one figure, but the YouTube version's
I've
great.
been topless the whole time.
So I think I can feel our numbers jumping once you mentioned that. The view count, it'll show me on YouTube. It's only the last minute of the show. Um, so yeah, check us out there. And lastly, you can check out Super NPC Radio, our podcast network, wherever you get your shows. We have a free feed, the Super NPC Games Club feed, and we also have a Patreon where, depending if you're at the free, $2, $5, or $10 tier, we offer different bonuses for depending on which one you're at. I also do a bonus version of this show, the co-op series, where once a month I talk to a group of people about a game we all played. I was telling Bridger how I played Spider-Man 2, the 2004 movie tie-in recently. That was the most recent Patreon release, but it also comes out on YouTube a week later for free. So if you want to listen to that, it's there too. Next month, I'm going to be playing a new game for myself that is Professor Layton and the Diabolical Box for the Nintendo DS. I'm really excited to dive into it. I charged my DS Lite. It's ready to go, but you can find all that in a link in the show notes. That'll do it for another episode of Call Me By Your Game. We will see you on the next one.